Hey guys, today I'm back to talk about my February reads. So I want to share with you all the books that I've read in February, which wasn't too many because, you know, with the new job and everything, I'm not really reading a lot, but it's a couple, so let's get started with that. If you're interested in the makeup look, this is my Jane in Breaking Dawn 2 inspired look, which is kind of funny because I think the January wrap-up video was the Jane in Eclipse inspired look, but you know, just in case you're interested in makeup as well. But we're here to talk about books. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is this. This is Alexei Tolstoy, which is not the famous Tolstoy, but another one. So this is a Russian author, and this little book has two of his stories. One is complete and one is just a little bit of a very short fragment. And I don't know whether there was more planned, because it actually is like a complete story in itself. So the first one is called Der Vampir in German, so it's the vampire in English, I guess. And it was very interesting. It's about a Russian man who falls in love with a girl, but actually he is told that her grandmother is a vampire, and so he wants to visit her to get to know the family so he can propose. And then he gets a little bit of a weird sickness and he kind of dreams that they want to kill the girl, like the vampires. And yeah, that's kind of the main story of that. So it's quite eerie, quite dark and a little bit scary, but not too much. But it's a classic vampire story and I really enjoy these, so I really like that one, and I gave that one 4 stars. The language is a little bit weird to get used to, and obviously the names are nothing that you use in like everyday life, because that's all Russian names, so they can be a little bit confusing, but all in all I thought that was a very, very good story. The next one, which is in here, the fragment, is called Die Familie des Wurdalag, or the family of the Wurdalag, and that is just an ancient word for vampires, I think. So this is about a man that is traveling and he comes to a small town, and there is this family and they let him stay for the night or for a little bit longer because he can't travel on because there's some kind of weather issue or something. So he can't stay with that family, and when he arrives they're all kind of depressed and he's like, well, what's going on? And they tell him that their father went out to hunt down a vampire, and he told them that if he isn't back at a certain point in time, they were to kill him if he ever returned after that point in time. And the time is actually the evening that the traveler arrives, and exactly at the time that the man told his family, he returns. And they're not sure whether to kill him or not, because it was exactly the time he said. So they decide not to kill him, and he is a vampire now, and so he is very weird and starts threatening his own family, and the traveler tries to do something about that, because he kind of is in love with one of the girls, but yeah. So this is kind of a very different vampire story, but I enjoyed that a little bit more, even though it's shorter. It was just even more eerie, and the whole yeah, little village thing, it was very interesting and I really liked that. It's very scary and the atmosphere is great. So I also gave that one 4 stars, but you could go up to 4.5. I really enjoyed that one. It was just a fantastic vampire classic. So if you're into vampire stories, I would recommend Alexei Tolstoy's stories. The next book I read was this one. This is Hidden Like Anne Frank, or Versteckt wie Anne Frank in German. And this is 14 short stories of children that survived the Holocaust as Jewish children. So this book was really good. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. I didn't love every story equally, but then it's hard to judge because honestly that's what the people lived through, so you just can't judge it. You can only judge the way they talk about it, and some stories were just even more touching than others. So all in all, I would give this one 5 out of 5 stars. I would say that everyone needs to read this. This is marketed as a children's book and it is written as a children's book, so you can give this to your children to read. It's not too graphic because it's told from children's point of views. So I think, yeah, it's okay to read for children. All the very graphic stuff is left out, or the children didn't even experience like very graphic stuff. There is no story that takes place in the how do you say that in English? The concentration camps. So whenever one of these children went to a concentration camp, they kind of leave that out of the story, so it's not too horrible, but you still get all the things that happen to these children, and some let you know how all of this affected their lives like forever, and that was the most touching. Like, I don't know, it's just how life goes on after surviving something like that is incredible. And I think with the whole like refugee debate that is on, I think something like that is worth a read, because we're talking about people that can't live in their own country anymore because someone is just trying to kill them for something they haven't done. That's just something that they are and they can't change about themselves. So yeah, I think this is a book that everyone should read because it gives you a whole new perspective, and all of these children lived in the Netherlands, and yeah, it's just very fascinating and sad and interesting and important to hear. Maybe something I want to say about this whole refugee thing. I read an article about Anne Frank's father, who tried to save his family by trying to get them to the US in time, and they were actually denied because the US had like a certain amount, certain number of refugees they would take in, and that number was very low. And yeah, obviously that wasn't enough to save all of the Jewish people. And I think that is something we always have to keep in mind. I mean, we act like, you know, this whole Anne Frank thing is so important and we have to learn from that, and something like that is never allowed to happen again and stuff like that. And then we talk about how we can only support like so and so many refugees. And the thing that we have to keep in mind is that those people, they flee from countries that we are financing their wars. So that's just something I wanted to say to that, because yeah, I think these stories still have a huge impact on nowadays life and nowadays politics. So just go and read that book. So lastly, I want to talk about Room by Emma Donoghue. In German it's called Raum. So this is a book about a boy who grew up in Rome with his ma or mom, or however she's called in English, and that's the only thing he knows. And one day his mom decides to unlie everything and tells him that there is actually a whole world outside of Rome. And this book is written from the point of view of that 5-year-old boy, and that's the only thing that kind of I didn't love about this book, because it can be very annoying. Obviously he uses a different language than you would usually use in a book. I mean, he's 5 years old, and I totally get that you have to read it from his point of view, because what he experiences is the part that you can't understand. And you can always understand how his ma feels, because that is like a point of view that you can sympathize with. I don't know how to say, but you just can't understand what it's like for her, but you can't understand what happens in the head of a child who was told for 5 years that there is only this one room, and suddenly his whole world opens up to what we all know is the world. And yeah, so that was the reason why you have to hear it from Jack's point of view, but I just was annoyed with the language a little bit. And then also I thought the ending was a little bit too long, it dragged on too much. So I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Again, I think the story is very unique, very good, but there were just some points that got annoying a little bit with the way the story was told. But other than that, I really can't complain, and I think, yeah, this book is very special, and if you're interested in it, you should definitely go and read it. So these were the books I read in February. I hope this video isn't too long. I just want to quickly mention a couple of movies I saw recently. First of all, The Big Short, which is amazing. I really love that one. If you haven't seen it yet, just go and watch it. It's so cool. I really liked it. I hope it gets many Oscars because it's just a fantastic movie. I've never seen something like that in a cinema before. And yeah, that one was just amazing in every way. And it completely surprised me. The next one would be The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio. I really hope that he'll get the Oscar this year because he definitely deserved it for the movie. It's kind of dark and depressing, but I enjoyed it. It's no movie you would watch like for pleasure or like a movie that you would watch again, I would say. I probably won't ever watch that one again, but it's a fascinating story. And yeah, it was written and done very well. And then I also watched The Danish Girl, which was probably the biggest disappointment. I really was hoping this would be my favorite movie of the year because last year's The Imitation Game completely blew me away, and it has that kind of LGBTQ plus aspect as well. I'm sorry, I hate you just have letters for something. That always confuses my mind because I can't do that, but you know what I'm talking about. And yeah, so I was really hoping the best for The Danish Girl, but the issue that I had with it is that it didn't focus on Lily or Einar, but it just focused on his wedding. And I felt like it focused way too much on his wife, Gerda, and how she tried to deal with that. And I just didn't like that because that was not what I was interested in. I wanted a movie that is about how it feels to be in the wrong body. And that was just not what I got. Also, what I'm gathering from Wikipedia, the movie is not accurate at all. The whole wedding thing is just made up because obviously they were married, but what you can read about their marriage just doesn't go with the movie at all. Like, I read that Gerda was actually lesbian, so I don't see why she would be that bothered. Also, I read that in the end she's actually not with Einar or Lily anymore, but she just married another guy. So it's just all a little bit too much on the wedding part, and I just didn't get what I was expecting, and that was kind of sad because I just didn't feel anything for the movie. And maybe I just had too high expectations. I don't say that the movie is bad, but it just didn't give me the perspective I wanted to get. And then there's one more movie that I recently watched, and that is The Hateful Eight, and that one was great. It is exactly what you would expect if you've seen like Kill Bill or something like that. It was great, it was interesting, the actors were all amazing, and what I would complain about is that the characters weren't that unique. They were all crazy, but they've all been done before. Like, for example, the main woman, I forgot her name, I'm sorry, but the woman that is supposed to be hanged, she really reminded me of Bellatrix Lestrange in Harry Potter, and I would almost see Helena Bonham Carter do the role. Also that one guy, what was he? Like the British guy, he really reminded me of Christoph Waltz. So it was like the role was written for him, but then he just didn't have time to do it, so they had to take someone else. That was kind of disappointing, but I was really happy to see the main character, the Hangman. He is in Vanilla Sky, and that's one of my favorite movies, so I was happy that he's in a very big movie now, and he has a main role, and I think he did so well. Also, like Samuel L. Jackson, like crazy performance, loved that. So that was a very good movie, but it was just as good as I would expect. So the biggest surprise would be The Big Short for me, and the biggest disappointment would unluckily be The Danish Girl, which makes me really sad. So let me know what books you love, what movies you loved recently, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!